Russia's massive invasion of Ukraine continues for another night. Stunning images of the damage and destruction showing how vicious the attacks are. Hundreds are dead. Neighborhoods are battlefields. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians are fleeing the country. Some are walking miles, others fleeing by train, car, or bus, forming lines miles long at border crossings. NATO expects millions of Ukrainians to flee if the situation escalates. The majority of the evacuees are in Poland, and that is where we find NewsNation correspondent Robert Sherman. So, Robert, what are we hearing? We're hearing that some Ukrainian men are actually headed back into Ukraine from Poland to take up arms.
That would be correct, Rudabeh, and you have to remember that order from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that all men age 18 to 60 must remain in Ukraine in order to defend the homeland. That order came down just a couple of days ago. Tensions started to flare up here in Eastern Europe weeks, even months ago. So some people did leave the country, already made their way to places such as Poland, and now some of them do want to go back and fight for the Ukrainian army against these invaders. You have to keep in mind, though, that this idea of fighting for Ukraine and defending the country, in many cases, this is coming from the top down. President Zelensky was, as we all know, not a politician by trade, a former comedian. And for that reason, many people wondered, would he be able to stand up and be strong in these tumultuous situations here in Europe? He has made clear that he is not fleeing, despite what Russian propagandists wanted the Ukrainian people to believe. He was going to stay in Ukraine until the fight is done. He was even offered passage to leave Ukraine and escape to other countries. He said, "I need ammunition, not a ride." And when you see that kind of leadership here in Ukraine, it trickles down to the other people who are in the country. And that's why we see this determination to fight on countrywide.
Definitely a unifying rallying cry. The people who have come across the border, they finally made it into Poland after hours and days on their journey. I know you've been talking to them since you've been there. How are they?
Yeah, the emotions that some of these people are dealing with, let's remember that what the people who are getting here are going through. Many of them are packing up their whole lives, throwing it into suitcases, walking dozens of miles, standing in line at the port of entry for hours, even days on end. By the time that they walk through those gates and into a country such as Poland, we are seeing this initial sense of elation and relief that they're dealing with, because they did just escape Ukraine, which, of course, as we all know, is a very dangerous place to be at the moment. But then you see this confluence of other emotions. So one family we spoke with, they left behind all of the men in their family. So the worry has not gone anywhere. They're still terrified about what the next couple of weeks are going to bring. On the other hand, we've spoken to other people who their fear has become anger, borderline hatred for the Russian army, Russian President Vladimir Putin, the utter despising of what has happened here and how all of this has unfolded. You see this culmination of a multitude of different emotions here, and it's really just hard to put into words.
Yeah, a range of emotions and so many people in shock, but grateful to have arrived there. Robert, thank you so much for your excellent reporting.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.